city of David. And David said on that day, whosoever getteth up to the gutter and smiteth the Jebusites and the lame and the blind, kill the Jebusites, kill the lame and the blind people that are hated of David's soul. I mean, come on. He shall be chief and captain. Wherefore they said, the blind and the lame shall not come into the house. So David dwelt in the fort and called it the city of David. And David built round about from Millo and inward. And David went on and grew great, and the Lord God of hosts was with him. And Hiram king of Tyre sent messages to David, and cedar trees, and carpenters, and masons, and they built David an house. And David perceived that the Lord had established him king over Israel, and that he had exalted his kingdom for his people Israel's sake. So if you're a Hebrew or Jew or what have you, when you're reading that, you're thinking, okay, well, bam, God said it was cool, so it was all good. That God said, go ahead and take the land from these people, kill these people, kill the blind and the lame. The people can't absolutely not defend themselves. Kill them, take the land. It's all good because God said so. So again, this is how you establish, a reason. How to try to justify what happened to the indigenous people throughout the world by looking into the Bible and saying, well, God said it was cool for y'all to absolutely kill these people. So that's what we did. We took the land. So then when you couple that with Romans and it basically saying that you're supposed to follow the powers that be because God ordained them to be in power. It's the same shit. It's the same thing. It's somebody saying that God said. Where's the proof? Where's the proof? And here we are to this day, land conquered. You have these people ruling saying that God put them in charge. I mean, anybody can profess anything. If you have the army, the power, the money to back it up, then you can basically do anything. These people basically did that. They wrote down their plan. They put a plan into play and played on the goodness of the indigenous people who just was human and had empathy and was looking to help. And they played on that and they infiltrated and they took the lands away from these people. And that's basically what happened. Anybody who tried to put up a fight and fought for, their land was killed. It's the same thing, keep going on and on. It's been going on for centuries. And people fail to understand and to recognize what has taken place. We call it colonization. It's genocide. Whatever you want to call it, it's wrong. Morally, period, it's wrong. And what kind of God would allow it? As I said before. So you got to think about that, what you accepting from this Christian religion and what you think God is all about. You read the book and it basically goes against what most people feel is morally right. It's wrong. And God himself could have did something better. Tell the people to go to another place and give the land to them if it belonged to them. What was it about these people that you would just kill them and take the land? So you got to think about that. And a lot of people are going to say, yeah, well, they were worshiping false idols and what have you and this and that. So God just wanted to kill them and get them out the way. And this is where it goes into that God is a jealous God and vengeance. This is how it tries to justify that. Well, the Bible says God is jealous, so maybe he was just mad and just say, he wanted to kill him. And that's how they try to justify it. But it's all bogus, it's all bullshit, because you can't prove to me that this God ever existed. So then the thing is, a lot of people read those verses and they read the Bible, and a lot of y'all thinking this is like super ancient stuff that happened thousands of years ago. When it's not. We're talking about recent history. We're talking about AD time, where this stuff is taking place, where you have the Aryans, the Europeans going in and conquering and taking lands from African people. The problem is, you're not realizing that the King James Version was written 1604 to 1611. Plain and simple. This is after slavery had already taken place, after all these African kingdoms had fell, after the Renaissance, and after, of course, the Dark Ages. And think about it. You don't have nothing to compare the King James Version to as far as ancient manuscripts. Now we can go to the codices, which already proved that the codex is different from the King James Version. Already proved that Deuteronomy 28 does not say the same in the codexes as it do in the King James Version. And the oldest example of Deuteronomy that we have, you find in Deuteronomy 28:68, it says nothing about going back to Egypt with ships. It's talking about children. So again, we can see that, the Bible was different and it was changed and rewritten, which is why it's called the King James Version, to fit what was taking place during that time and to justify the genocide of African people and them taking the lands from African people. And that book was created and given to us in slavery, not handed to us, literally, but they told us about the Bible. So when you're reading that, like I said, I don't understand how no black person can be a Christian. I just don't. You stupid. I can't fathom it. Like, come on, snap out of it. Just the simple fact we was given the book during slavery should tell you something. We in slavery, they teaching us about this guy that's talking about saving us and everything like that, and it's not happening. It doesn't happen. Hundreds of years still, praying on our knees, getting hung, beaten, burnt alive. Meanwhile, you have the slave master and them praying going to church. Everything good happened for them. So you tell me, where's the justice in that? Where's God in this whole situation? So that should give you the understanding, one, that this is not a book written by God. This is a book written by European people to control African people and to justify the genocide of their ancestors. Plain and simple. All the stuff that's hidden in the book, and people who follow me, you guys understand how much I glorify the Bible, how much I uplift the Bible as far as the hidden code in the book. If you read the book and you're trying to say everything about it is real and true and Jesus is real and everything like that, you're crazy. Something wrong with you. If you believe that a 500-year-old man spent 100 years building an ark and put 2 of every animal on it, something is wrong with you mentally. If you believe that a grown man can survive 3 days inside of a big fish, something is crazy. Think about what you're saying and be rational. And understand that this is all a parable. There is not going to be a beast that's going to appear in the sky with 7 heads and 7 crowns and 7 horns. It's talking about something else clearly. And Jesus tells you in Matthew, it's a parable. The book is a parable. So, come on. You can't get a woman from a man's rib. It's not possible. Eve means before. So, obviously trying to tell you she came before man. It's a parable. It's all a parable. It's all trying to tell you something. So, what you have to understand is how to separate the book. And this took me over 10 years to really do it all. But I spent time reading and taking notes on every single book of the Bible. But you got to know how to separate the code from, the parable, the actual book itself and what's going on, to understand that these stories mean something else. They are alluding to something else. There are not actual things that actually happen. And it kills me to see black people just hallelujah and just so phony when it comes to the Bible, knowing they don't really follow it. So I already proven that, one, we established civilizations and kingdoms long before Europeans had monarchies or what have you, that we had knowledge of, math, science, astrology, what have you. We had schools, we had so many systems in place long before European rule. This is already proven. So when the Hebrews are talking about, we being the chosen people, when the Bible is talking about the Jews being the chosen people or what have you. And like I said before, don't get me wrong, the Hebrew Israelites got it right. They just confused about what they're talking about. They got it right as far as the Bible saying that we are chosen, but you got to understand it's more to that and what that really means. One, the people, because it's pertaining to the Jews being in America as slaves, when Deuteronomy 28:68 is talking about going back to Egypt in ships, and all of the imagery and everything that's showing you that America is Egypt or what have you, trying to get you to understand, one, who the Jews really are, which they can't be the Jews we see today. They have to be black people, but trying to get you to understand the metaphor of the whole thing. What it basically is saying, plain and simple, is the people, one, that was brought into America, which, yes, Africans was already in the Americas long before slavery. And we was there when Columbus came. We was there when they basically took over. The Indians were black. That's another story. But there were Africans brought from Africa, from, the west side of Africa unto America. But these people were the kings. They were the descendants of the kings, of the royal families of Africa that was enslaved. So when you pay attention to what was happening, one, just think about this. You see the pictures. You know, one, when they brought in the slaves, what they bring in the slaves for? They brought the slaves into the colonies to build these buildings, to build, to farm. They didn't understand this stuff. That's what we was doing when we came there. We built America. They didn't know how to do this stuff. We was already masons long before they came up with the word mason. So the castles is there to prove it. So they enslaved the kingdoms, the kings. I always say you could be descendant of one of these kings that was enslaved. We can go back and prove one from the Songhai Empire, 16th century, enslaved, defeated by the Europeans. And enslaved, those people was enslaved. They already had knowledge. So even before that, you know, we came into, and I talked about this in the Moors DVD about when Columbus came over with the Moors, understanding that the Moors already had the knowledge and understood what was going on. But you got to understand during that time as well, you had these African civilizations that was being taken over by the Europeans, the Portuguese namely, who was on terror. But those kingdoms, the people, and those royal families were enslaved, took to America, and forced to build for the colonies. So what the Europeans can see was we had this knowledge. So they eliminated any threat to their power. Had we been left in power in these African kingdoms, we would have challenged their authority. Then, being kings of Africa, the most richest land on the planet, we would be the superpower, period, point blank. They can't control all of Africa, so they're controlling the power structures. And that's basically what they've been doing. You don't just go in and fight an entire country. You go in and you tackle the person at the top, the king, whoever ruling. Either rob them or threaten them or do something to gain access to the rest of the people. And that's basically what they did. So I want you guys to understand, while we see Christianity, we see religion backed up by so much money and power and people in high places, and you see your favorite celebrity, Denzel, and all these people praising God and praising Jesus and everything like that. It's all surrounded by this religion. So much entertainment, so many lies, so much power. You got to understand, no matter how big and crazy it may seem, and all this stuff may give an impression of legitimacy, as if this stuff is real, but in reality, it's all bogus. It's bullshit. No matter how big they try to hype it up, you can see that the stuff is not backed by anything, which is why I need all these special effects. You know, it's bullshit. And this is basically what the Europeans do. They're good at it. The Jews, good at it. They're good at telling stories. They're good at giving you movies because they can't do the stuff for real, so they can fake it on TV to get you to believe that, you know, the stuff is possible, it's true, or what have you. This is what they did with history. They try to give themselves a legitimate place in history, as far as them having really a legitimate excuse to be ruling. Because again, who made you king? Who's the Queen Elizabeth? Who is these kings and queens? Who made them kings and queens? Think about it. If we was kings and queens before them, where did their empire come from? They had to have taken ours and assumed the throne. This is what happened. This is what we can prove. So again, you're going to go back through history and it's going to be a line. And everything below that line starts to get a little bit sketchy, but we can piece it together enough now to understand the truth. But their line is clear, but you can't find nothing legitimate to give them claim to the throne other than conquering. And I guess you can say, well, you know, if you take something that's yours, you know, but morally it's not right. You can't run on morality and have this whole religious source be throwing people in jail for stealing and killing or what have you, when you got everything you have, robbing, killing, stealing. Now, it's just some people, no matter what you say, how much information you put out there, how much sense you make, they're not going to back away from the Bible. It's just how it is. A lot of people is completely brainwashed, they screwed, and they're not willing to accept any kind of rational understanding that's basically going to go against their understanding of the Bible. So, in doing this video and putting out all this information, everything I have been putting out, I already understand why you're just not going to be able to convince people of the truth. I've been through this. And a lot of people, you know, people want to debate me, want me to talk about this and that. I already been through all this stuff before I even got on YouTube, before I really started getting into this information. I talked with people about this, religious people and people who I knew. And of course, I was met with the same thing. People just don't want to accept the information, because then they would have to do something. They would have to change. People just want, they set in their ways. They don't want the world to change. They don't want nothing to change their life. They just want to go about life the way they're going and hopefully make it big someday in some capacity. They don't want things to change. And by the truth coming out changes the world. It changes the world. Not only does it change the world, it could possibly cause a war. It could possibly take a person from a position of power and put them in a lower place. And a lot of people just don't want that. So again, Europeans are fearful of the truth. So anytime you try to speak the truth, you're in danger, or you're going to be met with ridicule. And that's just how it is. The truth is a dangerous thing. And it's so messed up that they have established everything that way. So what I want you to understand from this video is that, these races of people, these civilizations that the Bible is talking about were in reality African people. It wasn't, thousands and thousands of years ago. We're talking about, 13th, 14th, 15th century when we still was ruling and we had these lands taken away from us. Europe was taken by at least 1000 AD. From African people, from African rulership, as I talked about in the Moors video. And you got to understand that when you start going back in history, this is what you find. This is where all the true facts lead you. And you can't just read a book and believe everything in the book. You got to do actual research and understand what's going on, what's taking place, what has taken place in history. And a lot of people just not doing that because they want history to fit what they want it to fit. Anything but the truth. And that's basically what you see. And I'm all about the truth and getting it out there. This, cop out called Afrocentric that, people want to throw at you. Oh, you Afrocentric and this and that. Or you militant. It's all to escape away from truth. And you could call people whatever you want to call them. But the truth speaks for itself. It is what it is. The truth is the truth. And that's basically what I put out. If it's not the truth, I'm not going to really put it out there. I'm not going to back it up. But the truth is what we're after. You put little names on it. They want to call you atheist or Afrocentric or militant, whatever people want to say. It's all about the truth. That's basically what I'm about, period. And getting to the bottom of it. If it was some truth that put us in a negative light, the truth is the truth. You got to put it out there. But when you follow history and when you look at what happened, it's clear. You had spiritual African people who tried to help and civilize the world, whose real only problem and flaw was they was too trusting. Plain and simple. That they didn't see black and white. They saw human. And you had these powers that be take advantage of that and understanding that they can manipulate these people. And the best way to do it was using spirituality, which we were spiritual people. That's what they used. The weapon. That's the weapon that was used against us and still being used against us. You had so many people basically turn against Africa and turn their backs against everything that African people did for the world and did for so many different civilizations and allow us to basically be taken over by the European powers, by these Aryan powers for whatever reason. And again, as I talked about in Buddhism DVD, as I touched on a little bit in the Moors, and I'm going to keep touching on this situation, is we can see how a lot of these nations are involved and how they basically just come to this whole understanding that black is bad, black is evil, black is wrong. And it's an understanding that, they have that for some reason they don't want to put out the truth about African accomplishments for whatever reason. But the truth is already out there. You can't hide it. The proof is there. And, now you're starting to see a lot more people, coming to the truth and start to embrace the truth more. A lot of people is coming to the knowledge that they are African and that they come from African people and who we really are and what happened to us. And this is what they don't want, which is why we have been seeing over the years so much racism brought up again, so much racial tension going on throughout the world because they understand the world is trying to unite and has been. And they're trying to stop that from happening at all costs, because as soon as we realize that we are the same, we will turn and look and see who the real enemy is, and they don't want that to happen. So my goal is to make that happen. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch. Thanks to everybody who's been buying the Moors DVD. Thanks for the support. Everybody who's been donating so far and still not doing that good, but we'll get to our goal. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch, donate, buy a Moors DVD, and follow me. That's what I meant to say. Follow me again at The Real Merkabah, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I will live stream from Kemet when I get there. If it's a signal, I will live stream straight from the pyramids. I'm going to try to climb to the top of that thing if I could. But I will live stream from there, from a lot of other places that I'm going to be visiting. So yeah, definitely follow me on there. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. See you guys next video. Thanks for watching.